Hey everybody, Daryl Prell here, CMO at Agorapulse. How are you doing today? It's going to be a fun one. Why is it going to be a fun one? Well, you may have heard. And if not, allow me to break the news to you. Twitter is in a little bit of a state these days. Let's go with that. They're in a little bit of a state. It's changed hands. There's been some interesting changes on their policies. You know, on occasion, free speech isn't as free as you might think. It may be not doing as well for building Mr. Musk's personal brand. The advertisers are still not really liking what they're seeing. There's blue check marks, and then there's not blue check marks, and there is blue check marks, and then it's $8. No, wait, it's $11 unless you're Apple. The list goes on. And because of that, people are evaluating, considering, contemplating, or outright doing the unheard of, which is leaving Twitter. Or if you're not leaving Twitter, because what I hear people who hesitate to leave Twitter, when you drill down, it's because, and they'll never admit this, you have to drill down on them. Well, I've got 10,000 or 20,000 or 50,000 or 100,000 followers. So understandably, they don't want to give up their community. I get it. But if they're not leaving, then they're evaluating what's plan B. So you may be leaving because you don't agree with what's going on. You may be leaving because it's changed and you just don't like it anymore. You want to go back to the way it used to be. Or you may be looking for a backup plan in case things totally, utterly implode. So whatever that might be, there's a lot of options out there for you. Today, I want to talk about Mastodon. I want to bring you along with me. I've got an expert I'm going to introduce to you shortly, and I am brand new to Mastodon. And today's expert is the reason I'm there. Now, I had, like you, I had talked about it. I had thought about it. I had contemplated it. But this good friend of mine and colleague and Mastodon rockstar came to me and said, Daryl, are you on it yet? I'm like, well, you know, and didn't take long, and he got me on it. So I am still early. Some of the questions I'm going to ask him today are questions that I had early on that he was great enough to answer for me. Others I've done some research on as he's trying to figure it all out. Because you go in thinking it's Twitter, and I got to tell you this, it's not Twitter. It's its own beast. There's Twitter elements, and we'll get into that. So I thought, if I've got these questions, then I bet you've got these questions. So I'm going to go, I got 1,000 questions to listen here. This is an ad hoc, unscripted, live conversation. Maybe my guest has all the answers. Maybe he does not. We're going to find out. That's the beauty of going live. So with that, let's have some fun. Joining me today is Mr. Seth Goldstein. Seth, if you look at his LinkedIn profile, he'll tell you he likes to help small and mid-sized companies get found online using digital marketing strategies. But let's really kind of drill down into him, all right? What you need to know is this. He's the principal creative director at Goldstein Media. He is a podcaster extraordinary. He's all over the podcasting place. Oh my God. He's with, I mean, what do we got here? He is the Entrepreneur's Enigma. He's got the Digital Marketing Die podcast. He's the editor-in-chief of the Marketing Junto. I can never know if I say that word right or not, but I'm going to go with Junto. I think it's Junto.
I actually don't say it right when I call it. It's Junto.
Well, see, I thought
but
that.
I call Marketing Junto.
And so
I say it wrong, and it's my own silly thing.
Well, you know what I did? I actually went before I knew I was going to be talking to you. I actually went online. I did the Google thing, and I said Junto, you know, meaning, definition, whatever, and up it comes, and it's got the little speaker. And it said Junto. It was a hard J.
Did. I like Junto better than Junto, but it's Junto.
I think it is Junto. That's what I thought
Spanish.
too.
No, it's a Spanish J.
I know. That's what I thought.
This is always how Ben Franklin, because he had the original Junto back in the 1740s.
Yes, way back when, if I my understanding, it was actually a gathering, a cabal of men talking about a specific topic or a
in Philly, which I thought was very appropriate because I'm just north of Philadelphia.
Yes,
so I figured
makes sense.
You know, it's Ben Franklin's hometown, marketing, and it just kind of came to me. And I was like, oh, the domain's free. Great,
take it. Don't you love that? I love that.
Take it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, so let's have some fun. Let's just get into it. We've trash talked enough. All right, I'm going to ask you some really stupid ass obvious questions. I just want to be excused up front, okay? Let's start. And I've got a whole list here. I'm going to work my way through. We'll bounce around. Let's start off. Seth, in a nutshell, what is Mastodon? And because I think these questions always go together, how does it compare or contrast from Twitter? Let's start with that.
All right. Well, Mastodon is part of a bigger thing called the Fediverse, which runs on ActivityPub. All right, that whole sentence made everyone's eyes glaze.
Head
over.
is already spinning.
The minute it came out of my mouth, I'm like, wait, that made absolutely no sense. All right, so there's something called ActivityPub, which is a protocol, yada, 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 behind the scenes that makes like WordPress blogs talk to different things and so on and so forth. But there's all of these tools on the Fediverse. There's Plamora or something like that. There's Friendica. There's PixelFed, which is a Instagram competitor. They all enter, but the thing is, they're all federated, meaning that they all talk to each other. Mastodon is one of these that resembles more TweetDeck of the Twitter ilk than I would say Twitter corporate regular Twitter. And you can set it up at like either a TweetDeck or like Twitter. But what Mastodon is, you got to think about it this way: it's Twitter-esque because you can have conversations on it like Twitter, but they're different servers. So Daryl, I don't even know where the hell Daryl is. He's on some other server. I have him bookmarked on here so I can find him. But it's really what I think about. It's more closer related to email because he's opinionated, not spelled correctly. Go figure. He likes to be a pain in the ass that way. Pardon my language, but like every time I try and find him, I have to bookmark him because I can never find Daryl because he has a very It's not Daryl Prell at Mastodon.
Nobody spells my name right anyway, so I might.
Yeah, but it's easier than opinionated. It was spelled with H.
But you know the way I spell it, it's always available, whether it's on Twitter or anywhere else.
That's true. That's very true. But so anyhow, so you have to kind of know where to find people, which is one of the problems that we have with podcasting. One of the things we have with the Fediverse is discovery. But once you start following people, you start finding your cohort. You find your people. You find the Daryls of the world that are talking about marketing. You find the Seths that are talking about everything from dogs to WordPress to snow outside to how much he hates Elon to, oh my God, the server's backed up. Please be patient with us. All that stuff. But you got to think about this as a federated social network, meaning that you can be on a bunch of different servers. They're all mostly hosted by volunteers. And so it'd be nice. So if you go on one server and they have a volunteer link, volunteer to help out with moderation, or donate to the server because it does cost a crap ton of money to maintain these things. Because people are uploading video and all this stuff, and that all costs money. But there's servers like Mastodon.ai, which I help run and I donate to, that in essence let you converse with people on your local feed, which is the people also on Mastodon.ai or Mastodon Social, or wherever the hell Daryl is. Then there's a home feed of everyone you follow directly. Then there's the federated one, which you can't read because it goes so damn fast because there's millions of people and they're constantly chattering like chipmunks going by. Sound effect there. And then you can make lists and stuff like that to keep things organized. So I hope I answered your question there.
So let me see if I can replay it back to you, and I'm gonna Darylify it, which means I'm dumbing it down. Mastodon is based on an open source platform.
Didn't say that, but it is open source. Yes,
open source. And the beauty of open source, folks, means no one person owns it.
Mm-hmm.
It is
Elon.
That's right. No Elon. No Facebook. What's his name?
Zuckerberg.
Thank you. How can I blank on his name? I did. Anyway, no Zuckerberg. So no one person owns it. So that's the first.
They could have their own server if they wanted.
Yes, we'll get to that. And the beauty of open source means that if there's any kind of issues, you have a whole community working to fix this. So that's the first part. So Mastodon itself is not its own app. It's based on this open source technology.
It's a protocol pretty much. Yeah.
Exactly. Second off, unlike Twitter or Facebook, which is essentially one server, you go to one place to sign up or log in. Mastodon is a series of servers. You can pick one. And often these servers, they're specialized, not always, but often they're specialized on a specific topic. Like the journalists have their own server. If you're an approved journalist, that's an example, right? And so you have to pick a server, which is weird when you think about Twitter or Facebook. The next thing is when you're on that server, and by the way, the server name becomes part of your actual, your
That's
address.
That's a Gmail. It's a Daryl Perel at Gmail, or where the heck, Daryl 1 2 3 4 5.
That's a great example.
Yeah.
You want to email? Yeah, I love that. Let's go with that. You want to email me? You can email me at Gmail, or you can email me at Yahoo, or you can email me at Outlook. They're all different email servers.
Yeah.
But they all talk to each other, and they have open protocols.
They're federated.
They're federated. So
yes.
Unlike Twitter or Facebook, Mastodon is federated, exactly what you said, but you have to pick a server. That's the first thing that messes people up. I'm on the mastodon.social, so mstdn.social.
No, you're on MST. That's not the main one. That's the sister site to Mastodon.ai, run by my buddy Stux.
That's right. I'm on the MSTDN.
You're not on the big dog. You're on the slightly smaller dog.
I'm on the slightly smaller. But the reason I went there is because I am big on social. So I thought that was a logical place to go. And this is where it gets interesting. This is the upside to having different servers, because people say it's so confusing, which I get it. It is when you think in Twitter terms or Facebook terms. When you think in email terms, it's not. The reason when you're there is because you can see, shall we say, the activity, the timelines, specific to your server. The local feed, only the local feed, or you can change tabs, so to speak, and you can go see the feed to all the other servers that your server's connected to. And we're going to get into that because that's a nuance.
And
so
that
for most of the servers,
that one goes like really fast. The chipmunks. That's a chipmunk.
Yes, because it's that global feed. It would be like Twitter or Facebook, where you're getting all these, especially more to Twitter, where you're just getting inundated with just.
It's the fire hose, essentially.
It's the fire hose. So the first thing about Mastodon is it is a social platform to post your own thoughts or reply to people or send them direct or private messages, or if I use Twitter terms, to retweet or to boost.
Yeah, we call it toot. It's a horrible term, but we call it toot.
Well, no, because you have toots, which has now been changed to posts. That was part of my conversation.
Publish, but yeah.
Publish, which I think is stupid. Post is way better, but that's on the side. Toots is like a tweet.
But the best part is we've on Mastodon.ai, we've changed it to a farting elephant.
A farting elephant.
The little icon to hover over a post. You now have a little emoticon of an elephant farting. So you tooting.
There we go.
Wah, wah, wah.
So I like it. So we've got the 12-year-old Daryl likes it, and the 50-plus-year-old Daryl likes it. So there we go.
Perfect.
So a tweet is a toot or a publish.
Yeah.
And a retweet is the same as a boost. Am I correct when I say that?
Yeah, but you can't quote retweet yet.
You can't quote. I know. That's a nuance.
That's a very big controversial thing. All the journalists are like, we want to quote retweet. We want to quote retweet. And the open source platform is like the cohort that's making it is like, nope, not yet. It's too toxic. Yeah.
And that's what's happening is people are moving from Twitter and they're trying to turn Mastodon into Twitter. And the best example I can give you that is if you're an American, for example, moving to France and you try to turn France into America.
Oh, God, help you.
It's not America. It's France, right?
And they'll let you know that too.
They will let you, as you will learn on Mastodon, they'll let you know that. So you need to understand you're not on Twitter. Okay, so that's what Mastodon is. Conceptually, it does effectively the same as Twitter, different vocabulary, different etiquette, right? But at a high level, it's similar.
There's content warnings and stuff. Yeah,
we're going to get to that. So we talked about all these servers.
Yes,
the biggest question I had, I remember talking to you about this, Seth, was which server, how do I find all the servers? How do I find which one to sign up at? So what's the best way to figure that out?
There is an instances. I guess I'll put this in the show notes somewhere or whatever. But there's an instance, big long database full of instances. You'll get lost in there. I'd say reach out to someone who you know is on Mastodon and just get on their server, because ultimately you could do what we call a 301 redirect in the web world, and you can always change servers. And unlike Twitter, when you change servers and you do it the right way, which is actually relatively easy to do, you don't take your posts or toots or whatever the hell you want to call them. You don't take them with you. They stay on the server that you left. But all your followers follow you. They move your follow list. So let's say I have like 24,000, God help me, on my instance that I'm part of, because I'm special, whatever. I help run it, so they suggest me, whatever. If I wanted to move to MSTD, whatever heck Daryl, where Daryl is, and I want to move over to that domain name, I can move all my followers to that domain name. So it's like moving your contact list from an email is essentially what it is. You're moving all your email addresses from one to another. You're not moving all your emails from Gmail to Outlook. You're leaving them in Gmail, saying I'll look at those whenever, or getting rid of them, or I don't care anymore. But you can move your followers over, which you can't do on any other centralized social network.
Now, I just did a quick little Google. I looked up Google servers, and it brought me to joinmastodon.org/servers. And that will give you,
there you go,
a brilliant way to search out which server is of interest to you. But I love Seth's point of view, which is, we're just get one. Talk to your buddies, your peers,
or honestly, find one. Daryl thinks that his is more social related. It is, and it's a general instance you're on, Daryl, but it's one of the bigger general instances.
I know.
So there's more activity
social, so therefore
there.
It must be social. It's a rule.
Exactly. Mastodon.ai. We chose that domain name because it sounded cool. Why not? It's another general instance. I think we have 58,000 people on the instance, which makes moderation fun. But tell another story. But I would say start off with a general instance. Get your feet wet. Figure stuff out. You can always move to another one. There's one called Foston or Floston, which is free Libra open source software, Don essentially. So you can get one there if you're more into the free open source software realm. There's WP Toots, which is all about WordPress people talking. There's SEO community.social, which I have accounts in all of them, and they're all redirecting to this one account because they look cool to have one, and then you get on there, it's like having a bunch of email addresses. Like, oh, I got a Gmail account. I don't use that. I have a Hey account. Great, I use that one instead. It's just a matter of forwarding them to the right spot where you actually are hanging out.
Okay, that's a really good reference.
So try it.
Because it's true, because I have some of my older email accounts auto-forwarding to my primary current email accounts for the same reason. You don't want to miss anything.
Yeah, so if your Aunt Deborah forgets where you are, she emails one of them, at least it's going to still get to you. Because Aunt Deborah's not going to remember what email address you're currently at.
Aunt Deborah's stupid.
You change it so often.
She's old. I understand that. She's like almost as old as you, Seth. Holy smokes, that's old.
Oh, thank you, Daryl. I'm younger than you.
Listen, let's not get, let's not be mean. But the beauty about the joinmastodon.org/servers is it allows you to explore the servers that are available to you by region or by topic. And it gives you network health.
They did a good job with that.
Great.
Yes.
So check it out. So that's how you sign up. Now, let me ask you a question. You started talking about it just there a little bit, Seth. So we use me. Seth was criticizing me in a hurtful way. Made me cry about opinionated.
I'm sorry.
My handle, opinionated. OH, because opinionated. PINION, the number 8, TED, opinion, 8, Ted.
Why is there a T after the 8 when the 8 has a T in it?
I know, but again, no one else is using this. Work with me here, dude.
Oh, of course, but it's confusing to remember.
I know, but there's other ways to search. So let's talk about that. Can I join?
Yeah.
When I join one server, like I'm on the Mastodon.social, but you mentioned the main one's Mastodon.ai.
No, the main one's Mastodon social spelled out Mastodon.
See, that's supposed to MSTDN.
And there's MSTDN.social, which you're on, which is run by the same guy that runs Mastodon.ai. Like you can keep, he runs actually, and he also owns MSTN mstdn whatever .coffee for coffee
All right,
lovers.
so let's stop with that. We got mstdn.social and mstdn.coffee. You use that as an example. Can I create opinionated, the user, on both servers and their separate accounts?
Yeah, so Daryl, you don't own opinionated spelled weirdly everywhere. You like so getting on here, claiming your domain, claiming your handle doesn't mean poop. I was trying not to curse. Doesn't mean poop, because it doesn't matter. Because another Daryl can say, "Oh, I like that name. I'm going to use it over at this domain." So there's ways to authenticate yourself. Say that this is this Daryl. There's a little bit of code. It's a little geeky, but you can put a bit of code on your website or heck on your social media profile elsewhere on Facebook saying, "This is who I am. This is who this Daryl, this opinionated person, is this person over here," and you get a green box around your URL instead. It's self-verifying versus whose butt do you have to kiss to get that blue check mark?
Right.
Way.
So theoretically, everyone listening to this stream right now, you could all go find a different server as the one I'm on, and you could also be opinionated, spelled in a wonderfully creative way. I know Seth still likes.
There you go.
But that if I did that, if I did .coffee or .social like I am, those while we can use the same handle, opinionated in my example, they are separate accounts. They're not the same account.
Yeah, it's like having Daryl Prale at Gmail, Daryl Prale at hey.com, Daryl Prale at outlook.com.
Which are all separate accounts.
That doesn't mean they're all you.
Right.
It just means it's essentially think of this as a social email.
Gotcha. I love that analogy. So based on what I know Elon Musk did not too long ago, Kathy Griffin and the rest all got suspended because they changed their handle to Elon Musk. I have a serious question.
Yeah.
Are all the Elon Musk handles taken at all the servers across the board? Does anybody know?
There's a few.
I would suspect
there's a few Elon Musk.
I suspect.
And Elon Jet that got banned a few weeks ago, at time of recording, and that's an account that tracks where Elon's private jet is based on publicly shareable, accessible. This person's not stealing private data, but he got banned. I think he's back. He might be banned by now on Twitter for doing that. Is he on our server? I don't know. He's on one of the servers doing it again, just on Mastodon. Where guess what? Elon, or as we like to call him, Elmo, can't get. I don't know why we call him Elmo. It's not nice to Elmo. Elmo's sweet.
Yes.
Elon's not.
Elmo's much nicer. Okay, so
I think it's that anime, that meme where Elmo's with fire. I think that's why we call him Elmo. Burn all the things down, kind of thing.
But I want to talk about here. You made reference to the you talked about authentication. So talk to me about because I know I don't have to authenticate, but I can authenticate, and it's recommended to authenticate. So what is the process of authenticating? Should I should I just whatever? And if you recommend I should, how do I do that?
All right. It's a little bit inside baseball, a little technical, but when you go to your profile section, there's down by where the grid is, where you can put your metadata of sorts, like I can be found at darylprale.com. There's a little metadata thing, a little meta tag that you can grab and throw. It's actually a link. It's not even a meta tag. It's a link that you can then all throw on your website, and then it will show up as green because you authenticated it. It's literally taking a snippet of code, putting it on your website. Now, some people are saying, "Oh my God, well that's great if you know what the heck that means." Like Daryl has, smart enough to set up his own website. He can get to the code. He can put stuff, the link in there, and he's set. It'll say Mastodon, and they're connected. If you can't do that, talk to your host, talk to your web designer, have them do it for you, or you can set up something like on card, CARRD.co, a page about yourself. Paste that link in there, or those link tree things. You can do it there and say, this is all my stuff. Here's my Mastodon link. Paste it in there, and it should pick it up and make it a link.
So what's the benefit of authenticating? So I can do that, but what does it mean? Because theoretically, I could have some web server out there called super alt-right January6rocks.com. And I can authenticate myself with that, but I could just be I'm a glorified troll. So what's the benefit of authenticating?
The benefit is if you are the opinionated on Mastodon Social or mstdn.social, and you want to say, I am Daryl Prale. This is the Daryl Prale that I am. Here's my link to darylprale.com. Then you can authenticate it to, this is actually Daryl Prale. It's not some other troll.
Some other Daryl Prale, yeah.
Daryl Prale or some guy named Jacob or something, making up a fake account to troll Daryl Prale. Because anyone can put a link on a bio. But having a green means that they actually have access to something that is subsequently probably owned by Daryl. It can be spoofed. It's not perfect.
Right. So, and that's where I wanted to go to make sure we're clear on that, because, originally, for example, on Twitter, if you had the blue check mark, it's because a human actually validated that you were who you claimed to be. Whereas now with the subscription, it's $8 a month, and you could be a troll paying $8 a month. Yeah,
but now you can also be a gold check mark if you're notable. You can be a gray check mark if you're a company. It gets more and more confusing. Just get rid of the damn check marks, Elon.
Yeah.
Just forget that.
He needs revenue, dude.
I mean, but way back when, Eli Lilly, the pharmaceutical company, was trolled because they had LilyPad was their not very creative but stupidly their official account, and someone got Eli Lilly and Company at Eli Lilly and Company and said all insulin is free now.
Oops. I saw that one.
Yeah, I would be shocked if you didn't see that one. That one made the national news.
Yeah,
that was bad.
And that was a major impact. I believe they pulled all their advertising as a result of it too. I mean,
and their stock went down because of it.
Their stock went down. Yeah, I mean that's anyway. That's something to do with Mastodon. But trials and tribulations, and it's why authentication actually is important. That's a very good point. It's not perfect, but it's better than not being authenticated. So there we go. Exactly. So you don't have to do it. Just understand that. But
you can't figure it out. Don't worry about it. It's not huge.
Yeah. All right. So so where do I start with this? I've created my account. Is there anything special about the profile setup process? It's probably been a long time for you, but you probably get asked this question all the time, that I need to be aware about. I know when I did it, it was very straightforward. Everything you'd expect, give me your picture or whatever. What's your name? A lot of optional information if you want to share it, etc. I didn't find anything tricky about it. And I didn't find anything technical about it.
The only thing technical is that link to verify yourself. That's the trickiest thing.
Right.
And you can put, but the trick is that you can also put hashtags, because there is no algorithm. Let's make that perfectly clear. That there's no algorithm with email. There's no algorithm saying, "Hey, go follow Daryl." If you want to go find Daryl, you go link to him. You go find people. You start following people. Then your web grows. And then if Daryl boosts or toots or whatever and links to someone else, then you can follow that person. And eventually, the mass picks up, and it's like rolling a pebble down a hill. That analogy. It grows and grows and grows as it picks, or in snow, it picks up more and more snow, and you have this giant snowball coming down, creating an avalanche behind you. You can do that with Mastodon. Slowly just pick up people like, oh, you want to find Tom Merritt. You want to find Sarah Lane. These are all podcasters. You want to find Daryl on here. You can find them, and then if they tune out more people and their posts, you can then follow those people and those people and those people. So follow me, Philly Codehound, at mastodon.ai, and I'm a serial tutor. And I am gassy, but that's besides the point. So.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll ever use the term toot just for that very reason.
I know it's bad, but I had to throw it in there. But I'm a mass tutor. Correct.
Yes,
I am totally correct on that.
You are one of the biggest tutors out there.
Exactly. You know why? Because apparently mastodons are very gassy.
That's what we understand.
Apparently elephants are and I looked it up. They are gassy. So,
Well, elephants
you don't want to be around an elephant fart, though.
That would not be recommended. Thankfully, here in snowy Canada, it's not a concern right now. But yeah, sage advice.
Sage advice. This went downhill real fast.
So let's replay where we've gone. Okay, so we understand. We understand what Mastodon is now. It's based on open source. It's a federation of individual servers, not unlike email, which is different from Twitter and Facebook. Stop trying to make it that way.
Yes.
You pick a server. You can do that by talking to a buddy and find out where they're hanging out, or you can just simply go to joinmastodon.org/servers and explore and find the right one for you.
And I also have a plug. I have a plug real fast. If you go to sethgoldstein.me/fediverse-resources, I have cultivated quite a bit of links and some servers, basic servers to help you get started. So,
and we will be sharing that on our social feeds.
Exactly. It's gmwd.us. Go there /Fedi, FEDI-resource is plural.
I love it. Okay.
Yes. So I didn't mean to interrupt, but that's a good place to start.
So we know what it is. We know it's different. We found a server, because remember, you can always move servers. He talked about that if you want to, and your followers will go with you. So we start with a server to start. We've gone in, we've signed up. There's nothing tricky. We optionally authenticated ourselves. It's just to get that little the green aspect to say, yay, we're good. We now come in, and I know I made reference to, I can see, the servers on my local. I'm sorry, the conversation, the activity, the feed on my local server.
It's not pitch blank like it was when you first joined Twitter. You actually have stuff. If you join a big server, you're going to see stuff going on right away, which is nice.
Right, and then so I can see it on my local server. I can also see the feed from the global. In fact, let's stop there for a second. So I talked about. So I mentioned I can see the feed from my global feed, which is all of the other servers that my server's connected to.
Yes. That's
a really, really, really important distinction.
Yes.
Can we talk about this whole concept of in other words, why would my server not be connected with every server in the world? I don't understand this. Doesn't that seem logical? So help explain to my audience.
Some of these servers are a bunch of turds. We'll stick with the feces reference here, but they're turds and they're trolls, and there's whole instances full of trolls. And over at Mastodon.ai, we're blocking a bunch of these because they are good for nothings, and they've been reported enough that the users have been reported enough, and we've blocked enough of the users saying that there's nothing good over on that server. Is it censorship? Yeah, so is Twitter and Elon Musk's version of it too. There's no perfect First Amendment, everything, you can't cry fire in a crowded theater because that's illegal, because you'll cause death and mayhem, and if there's no fire, you're in massive amounts of trouble. But there are people, poor schmoes like myself, that have to kind of moderate these servers on a voluntary basis, and I've seen more dick pics than I would like to. That I really don't want to see, and I feel for all these moderators over Facebook and that were at Twitter at some point, and what they've gone through, because you see some pretty gnarly stuff, and you just kind of going to say, all right, suspend that. But the thing is, with this, in the moderation toolbar, the moderators, and this can go all the way to if you own your own server, which you can run your own server too, like you can run your own email server. You can suspend them. You can limit them so only people who know about them can follow their toots. You can make all their posts sensitive. So like on Mastodon, if it's porn, it's porn. We don't care. Just hide it. Blur it out. Like we don't need to see it. If we want to look at it, we can click through the blur and see it. So there's different levels of moderation, which I think is really handy versus it's just not like you're there or you're not. There's a gray area, which is nice that we can choose. So if we're not sure how bad this thing is, or if it's in a different language, and Google Translate didn't make it sound that bad, which I use Google Translate constantly, because a lot of times it's in like whatever, it's Cyrillic or whatever. I'm like, I don't know what this means, but I gotta look at it because it was reported. I can read it and say, well, I don't really see where the reference is. It might be a reference that in that language that I don't get. I'm gonna just make it sensitive for going forward, and then if they come up again, I say, well, and you can add a note saying, don't do what you're doing.
So let's think about this.
Yes,
real world.
I throw a lot out there.
So, in a nutshell, everybody starts off assuming that all the server instances are going to be good neighbors. All right, and we will connect with one another.
Absolutely.
Now, if we discern that our neighbor, this other server, is actually a popular place with white supremacists.
Yes.
Well, we can, exactly as Seth just said, we can either leave that connection open, or we can gradually turn the dial down to ultimately turning it off and saying,
or you can do it one fell swoop too. You can just say ban.
Yes, you're right. You can go a little bit of time, or you can just say it's off, it's disconnected.
Yeah.
Now, why does that matter? Why it matters is this. There's a couple of interesting things here. This is why it's an interesting. That's why Mastodon's an interesting platform. Is if I identified as a white supremacist, I could go over to that server, create an account, and I could partake in that conversation. And there's nothing. So they're not stopping any speech. Your free speech, if you have that in your charter or your constitution, it's still protected.
But we don't have to listen to your bullshit. Pardon my language.
But exactly. This server, the one you're on, doesn't have to listen to you, and so we can either turn you off completely, or we can gradually turn it down off to see if you're going to get the hint.
Absolutely.
Right? That's the beauty of a federated server approach. So, which is the struggle you see on places like Twitter, where especially, and I'm going to be the Canadian here for a minute, as an outsider of U.S. politics, looking outside in, I can see you got, the left and you got the right, and they just want to own each other, right?
Yeah.
So, and then all of a sudden it just gives them a lot of noise. And whenever somebody makes a post, you have 1,000 comments of the other side trying to own the poster. It becomes obnoxious. So, and that's what scares people away from Twitter. So Mastodon deals with it that way. That's a big reason why the federated server approach is kind of cool. Okay.
Absolutely.
You mentioned when I signed up my account, I don't get a blank.
Yeah.
I don't.
You don't get a blank slate.
I signed up and I don't have a.
Unless you spin up your own server. Because if you spin up your own server, which I did because I'm a geek, then you need to start you gotta create your home feed, which is all the people that you follow. So if you want to follow Joe Schmo and he's not blocked by your server admins because he's not that much of a turd, he's just kind of Joe Rogan-esque. We're gonna go there, and he's kind of controversial, but he's on that other server over there that not everyone's controversial, but he's over there. You can go follow him. He'll be in your home feed. That's your curated feed for your own edification. What will happen is, because you followed Joe Rogan or Joe Schmo over there, he will start showing up in the federated feed more, the global feed more, because someone on the server, that being you, is following that, so he'll show up in everyone's federated server list more often. Go with it. Just nod your head.
I'm listening.
If I'm glazing over Daryl, I'm going to glaze off.
No, you're not glazing me over. In fact, I don't think I need to rephrase what you said. It seems really obvious. Wow. I like it.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, so that's fun. And then you can also do lists. So if I want to keep an eye on like the OGs or people that are in marketing, I can make a list. Now the thing I don't like is with these lists is that they're not portable. You can download the list into the CSV, but you can't re-upload them as a list. They go back in your main feed on another server. They don't move from server to server. You can't share them yet. They're working on it. I've talked to Gragon, which is Eugene, who made Mastodon. I've talked to him. I said, "Can we make this?" And it's kind of nice. I talked to the guy who's like actively building this thing, and he's actually listening, or at least he's pretending to listen. Saying, "Can we?" Exactly. Hopefully some of this people are picking up on. But the thing is, it'd be nice to be able to share these lists out to people. So if I cultivated an SEO list of people, I could say, "Hey, Daryl, go follow this list," like you can do on Twitter. You can't do that right now. It's coming. But remember, this is my biggest pet peeve with people about Twitter. Number one, people still don't get Twitter. They still think it's about your lunch. But back in 2007, remember that? Remember 2007? No one got what the hell Twitter is. And people still don't get what the hell Twitter is. What's a microblog? Why do I care about what you ate for lunch? And it's only become part of the zeitgeist, good word, because journalists have made it happen. Companies have used it for customer service. I actually moved my Comcast service, and I miss this now because I'm not on Twitter anymore, from one house to another, all through Twitter DMs. I've complained to Chipotle about them missing half our meal and gotten compensated through Twitter DMs. That was the great thing about Twitter. It's gone now to me because I'm like, I will not touch Elon's turd site anymore, and it's called turd site on Mastodon, by the way. So, but where was I going with this? Yeah, it's people are like, this is so confusing. This is so confusing. Twitter was confusing at the very beginning. Oh, you have to do an @ sign and anything to the person's screen name. Like, what the hell is this? Everyone's like, oh my god, it's so confusing, Mastodon. I'm like, do you remember even 2012 how confusing Twitter was and how much people complained about how confusing it was? Calm down, people. Like calm down.
Hashtags did not exist. That was a grassroots user initiative because they wanted to be able to get some topics going on. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Your point is valid.
Thank you. I had to get the rant out because I have a lot of people even in our marketing space complaining like this. Oh, it's so confusing. I'm like, dude, you were complaining back in 2012, and I have the tweet of you complaining about how confusing Twitter is.
Yep.
Calm down. Take a step back. Take a deep breath. Follow what Daryl did. Daryl's like, all right, Seth, I'll get on. Begrudgingly. You were a little bit begrudgingly. You're like, fine, I'll try it out.
I was hesitant. Like, I wasn't begrudging.
Hesitant.
In my mind, because it was like one more social network I have to participate in. I can barely do what I do now.
That's exactly what you said to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
But once you get into it, it gets addictive, just like Twitter.
All right, so let's start with Well, like anything. Yeah, exactly. Let's start. And by the way, folks, I am still on Twitter more than I am on Mastodon by far. I'm still learning Mastodon. But to Seth's point, I'm giving myself permission and time to learn Mastodon. I don't need to be an expert.
I've been on Mastodon since 2016. Right? I've been on Mastodon since 2016. So I've given myself the time to figure it out.
Yeah.
Let's not forget, because I didn't just jump ship and say, whoosh, I'm over there now. I've been on like 5 or 6 servers trying things out. So I don't really like this server, moving it over, figuring out how to move things over, messing up. I've been trying this since 2016 when it first came out and heard about it on This Week in Tech with Leo Laporte. I jumped on and said, this looks cool, let me try it out. It was a ghost town. There's like a few people on there saying, is this thing on? Hello, world. I ate a bologna sandwich today. It was that bad. It's taken 4 or 5 years to get to this point, and an Elon Musk blowing up Twitter.
So then the real question is why aren't you on Leo's Twit instance of Mastodon?
I have an account there.
Do you? Oh, you're rock star.
I have one on twit.social. I apparently have had it since 2018. Did not know I had it until you can forget the email addresses. You forget you have these things. I have probably 15, 20 Mastodon instance user accounts that only recently I've redirected to one because I was like, at one point I had a method. I was like, all right, this one's going to be about podcasting. I'm only in the podcast instance here. You know, Twit's going to be tech stuff. And I was going to keep myself segmented with my messages. Who the has time for that?
Yep.
I self-censor myself.
That's the whole point.
I get time for that.
And that's okay. But I like what you're sharing is that you had to figure that out. It's a journey.
Yeah,
okay, so we understand that.
Figuring that out. Yeah.
Let's start with the basic stuff here. The first thing I need to do is I need to build up my followers because, I used to your point, you talked about Chipotle or Comcast or these great podcasters or these great tech reporters like Leo Laporte or these journalists. These are maybe these sports athletes or these entertainers. These are the bread and butter of my timeline, the influencers and the creators and the journalists and the politicians whom feed me my daily, information or conversation or opinion pieces. Yes.
The dopamine hit.
Yeah. Beautiful. Dopamine hit. How do I find and build my followers?
It's totally dope. It's all dopamine.
It is. So help me with the dopamine. On Mastodon, what's the fastest way for me to build those people back up?
Well, there's no real quick way to do that yet. The search function's coming along, But remember the search function in Google Plus. Remember that? It wasn't there for like 3 years. You can search anything in Google Plus, which is a search engine for crying out loud. They didn't have a search engine. They didn't have a search box in there. So it's coming along, and you need to know the person's email address, the Mastodon address, where they are. But if you start following people on those servers, you can type in Tom Merritt or Ace Detective, whatever his screen name he goes by, or Opinionated and then if you're connected to enough people, Daryl will pop up because he's connected to someone else, and your web all connects and stuff like that. But to find the people originally, sometimes you have to actually go to email and ask them, are you on Mastodon? What's your Mastodon address? Or follow people who are vocal on Mastodon, who might be in the same circles as you, see who they're talking to, and then follow those people that they're talking to, and eventually you're going to find people. And also remember, this is a time to restart. This is a time to find new and interesting people, and not just do the same old poop as you did before.
You're right.
You can find new and interesting people. There's
a pain in the arse.
The whole server for astrophysicists and astronomers called Mastodon.social. It's a great time to go learn about the outer space stuff.
Okay. So one of the things that I've read and I have done as a kind of a best practice as we make this transition, and you alluded to it, Seth, was go put your Mastodon handle, your address, if you will, in your little Twitter or abstract, right? Which I've done.
You might get banned.
And that way,
you never know.
I might. Well, at the time it was allowed. Maybe these days I might get banned. It's true. Now there's also a wonderful little tool, and I don't know if it still works or not because I know the Twitter API is questionable these days. Called Debirdify. Are you familiar with that one?
Yes, I'm familiar with most of these things now because I've been trying them all.
Debirdify. You can Google it, folks, and we will move on. But it will do its best to connect to your Twitter account if you give it permission, and find who of your followers are on Mastodon, and I think it gives you like a CSV file that you can export that you can then import and start following.
Yeah, it's hit or miss. Every once in a while, it picks up an email address instead. Kind of funny and ironic that it picks up a Gmail address and then it imports, and you get an error message saying, "Well, Gmail is not a Mastodon server." But
right. So there's that. So there's tools out there. Check it out. And yes, building your followers up, it sucks because you're starting from scratch, like you did when you joined Twitter.
And there's no algorithm either, though. But there's no algorithm, so you're not going to get suggested. That's a problem and a blessing but essentially what you have is as you grow your network of people, you're going to start seeing more stuff. And then that's your algorithm. And then your local feed starts growing, and you follow those people, and things get balloons. So.
And it's as simple as that. So play with it. That's anything else. Okay, we know that. I'm cognizant of the time. We've got about 10 minutes left, max. I'm going to get through here. So now we're in. We understand. We've created our profile. We've started doing targeting our people we want to follow, so we can understand them. We've authenticated ourselves. Maybe we've used Debirdify to physically jumpstart the process. And by the way, you can use Debirdify over and over again. So as more and more people get on Mastodon, it will actually cross-reference it. Just as an aside. Let's talk about posting. Posting my toots is what it in a nutshell.
Never gets old.
What are the generally accepted protocols and constraints? Twitter originally had a 140 character constraint. So what are the generally accepted, etiquette protocol? Yes. And what are my constraints?
All right. They're server based. I mean, each server has different rules. Be aware of them. Read the rules so that way you don't get into trouble. But like, for example, most of them are 500 characters. Some like infosec or ioc.exchange is like 1,500 characters because the server admin was a geek and decided to expand it because it is open source and it can be done that way. So there are certain servers like Hackerstown that they have much longer toots, but the thing is, you can see those longer toots and wonder why is that thing so damn long, because that admin allowed it to be that long. But most of them are around 500 characters. if you're gonna put up something like a dick pic or whatever, make sure you put a content warning on it, and which is essentially a subject line, and then an accordion, which opens up to show said whatever you wanted to show. But be nice and warn people. Like,
how do I do a content warning? Because I've seen
there's
CW.
There's a button. It's a CW, and it's a button at the very under the publish button. I'd show this, but Daryl has snowy internet right now. Yes. But there's a CW button. You press it, it gives you a subject line, and then below that you can put your content. And as you reply to that CW content, your reply is now put in a CW as well. So a whole chain of dick pics can happen, and people will not have to see it.
So that's the Mastodon version of NSFW. Not safe.
Exactly what it is. Also, you can do direct messages. They are not encrypted, and they can be read by your admin. Not that they are gonna be, but they're not encrypted. So they don't do social security numbers. Don't do that on Twitter either. Don't do that anywhere where you think it's not encrypted. But just know that these DMs are essentially a whisper to us. I'm whispering something to Daryl. Most people are not going to be able to see that. It's not really important to anyone else to see. I can whisper something to Daryl, but if someone's close enough to us in real life, as an analogy, they can possibly hear what we're talking about. That's kind of the version of DMs. There's a only your followers can see it, and then there's only your local timeline can see it, and then there's tell everyone. Anyone who can see this thing. Generally, keep in mind, it's on the internet. What you put out there is out there. There's an edit button that you do not have to pay for, which is nice. You can edit your toots. Out of the bat, version 4 point something allowed edit, which is nice. There's also a delete and republish button. Instead of just a delete button, it deletes it and puts it back in your compose area, so you can address it. If you wanted to take it down and fix it, and you didn't want to think about editing, I don't know why, but whatever, there's that option as well. So there's a whole lot of features. You can upload photos and all that good stuff in there as well. But etiquette is server-based. Some are like, this is an NSFW server, anything goes. But remember, just because you only put content warnings on your server, doesn't mean you're not going to get banned from another server. Your tweets might not show up on Daryl's server, because Daryl might say, I don't want NSFW stuff on here. Or I don't want Seth's whatevers on my server. I don't want to see that. And as a user, you don't have to go to your admin and say, hey, can you block this person from me? You can self-block. If Daryl said something stupid that I didn't want to hear ever again, I could block him. I could limit his stuff. I could make his stuff blurry so I don't have to see it right away. As a user, I have all the controls that the admins have to me personally. I'm trying to educate the people over Mastodon.ai to start learning how to do that for themselves instead of having us do it for them. But you can do it for yourself, and because other people may not bother them. Like Rob Reich is a political commentator in the U.S. He's on our server. We're constantly getting reports that this guy is full of BS, which he's not. But people don't like him, so they report him. I'm constantly writing these people saying, if you don't like him, block him on your own site. I'm not blocking him for everyone else, because what he's posting is newsworthy, and he's not doing anything wrong. You're just being a turd. So you can be a turd personally to him, and if you want to see his stuff, block it. Sorry, that's something I'm going to die on, but that's very frustrating.
Okay, yeah. We talked about toots and turds. That's what we're going to call this episode. Toots and turds. Turds and turds of CMO school. I love it. Okay, we talked about the idea of retweeting or boosting, and then we referenced the idea of quoting. So A, I can boost, which is like a retweet, but B, I can't quote. In other words, for those who are not Twitter experts, quoting is the act where you actually include the original tweet as part of your retweet, then you can add commentary.
You can do that still. You can, but you have to literally do what you used to do on Twitter. Remember back in the day, you can copy and paste the person's thing and say, so-and-so said this, quote marks, or whatever the hell you want to put around it, and then add your commentary. You can go around these things. It's just not easy. It's not as easy as Yeah,
so this is a slightly manual process.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's totally cool. All right. Hashtags. This one was interesting.
Yes.
So you have
that's a big way of finding
hashtags,
things.
Correct?
Mm-hmm. They have
But
hashtags.
what's interesting about Mastodon hashtags, tell me if I'm right or wrong on this, is they use camel case, not lowercase. Correct?
You can do whatever the hell you want. It's nice to do
the
camel
idea
case.
that every word is capitalized.
Not every word, but you can if you want. You don't have to. People are starting to do that to make it accessible.
That's the recommended.
It's a nice thing to do so people can actually read
Right,
the damn
exactly.
thing.
That's the point.
But,
There we go.
But the thing about also with hashtags, following
I agree.
agorapulse.
Not trying to decipher it.
But following like a hashtag like agorapulse or marketing hashtag, it says hashtag marketing.
Yep.
Seeing that, you can then see what the conversation is around that hashtag, and then follow those people in that topic, and then that way you can find people too.
All right. So you talked about blocking people.
Yes.
Let me take it to the next question. All right.
Yes.
I'll ask a really hard question. Is Mastodon safe?
It's as safe as anything else online.
It's open ended.
I mean, it really is.
Fair
It's like if you follow some unsavory people and you give them your home address and they come and mug you or something worse, that's your own dumb fault. Like it's no safer than Twitter. It's no worse than Twitter. It's no safer than Facebook or Reddit or any of those other out there. Just watch yourself. It's like if you're walking down the street in Philadelphia, watch your back. I'm picking on Philadelphia. Ottawa, you might get maple syrup thrown at you.
Yes, you get maple syrup. Yeah. Yes, Ottawa. See, Ottawa is dangerous to people who don't live in Ottawa because in Canada, we just talk about Ottawa. You know, Ottawa this and Ottawa that, and what that means if you're not Canadian is because Ottawa is the nation's capital, and this is where our parliament is and all our politicians. So the rest of Canada hates Ottawa, but what they really hate is the politicians. So that's where if I'm traveling Canada and I say Ottawa, I get that derisive, disparaging look. God. Like, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not a politician. Don't bust my balls.
Same thing, but same thing with DC. If you say DC is a wonderful town,
yep.
DC is a wonderful town. It's literally just a town.
Yep.
7 miles square. But if you say you live in DC, they're like, oh God, what's that like living next sort of like?
Well, at least they assume you're probably not a politician. Here, they just assume everybody's in politics. Or they assume that I work for the government, I have a golden parachute, an incredible pension, and I don't work at all. So it's wonderful. Anyway, that's in a sidebar. Life in the capital of a nation, folks. We're not last, but second last. We haven't talked about this yet, but threads. Do threads exist in Mastodon?
You can do them. It's not as easy as it was on Twitter because Twitter only recently made it easy to do. Essentially, you reply to your own tweet or whatever the hell you want to call it. You reply to your own message, and it threads. So you can do a thread. You just have to reply to yourself like you did before in Twitter. Just reply to yourself and then add the next one. Add the next one. I know people like Typefully. They're going to start coming over. That's an app that used to do threads externally from Twitter and post them for you. I'm talking to the founder one-on-one with him saying, dude, you could get over on Mastodon. He's like, we're working on it. So there will be tools, maybe agorapulse could get into that. Hint, hint, hint. Please, please, please.
All right. We're tight on time. We're in our last minute and a bit.
Yeah.
Mobile apps. Is there an official Mastodon app or not?
Yes, and it sucks. It's horrible. It's abysmal. It doesn't give you half the features that other ones do. So Mass Text on iOS. There's Toot on, very eloquently said, on iOS. There's Fedi Lab on Android. There's Tusky on Android. There's a bunch of third-party apps. Do them over the official app. The official app doesn't have I forget what it's missing. It's been a while since I've used it, but it's missing features. And I mean, FediLab lets you actually be on an instance and follow another local instance's home local feed. You can do all kinds of weird stuff with Mastodon because it's open source. But FediLab or Tusky on Android, Toot or Mast text on, I'm not sure if there's two T's in there or whatever. You can Google it.
Metatext.
Metatext, that's what it is. Metatext.
There's Mast and there's Metatext.
Yeah, but there's a bunch of third-party apps. Download them, try them, pay for them, don't pay for them. But don't use the main one. The main one sucks. Sorry, Eugene, it sucks.
Nope.
So.
That's great. All right, so folks, we're out of time. I mean, you can see we wandered, we meandered, we had a great conversation. We got off topic a few times. We got technical, then we brought it back up again. let's recap in a nutshell. Mastodon is Twitter-esque. It's not Twitter. You will need to start over from the beginning, but that's a chance to clean house and reimagine how you want it, wish your Twitter was today. There are some tools to help you kickstart, like Debirdify. You probably should authenticate, but you don't have to. Much of the activity is the same. You can post or you can toot. You can retweet or you can boost. You can do manual threads. You can do a manual quote. So it's not the end of the world. It is a open source, so there's no one owner. It is a federation of servers, so pick the server that you think best fits you, and you can always move if you don't like it, so you're not locked in. It's got a different form of, shall we say, managing the noise because of that federation, that you can either disconnect or dial down a related server, or you can physically just block people altogether, so you have a lot of control yourself. So that's Mastodon. And if you're still not convinced, do what I did, which says, I'm going to start up an account anyway and figure it out, because who knows what the future holds for Twitter. And you know what? What I'm hearing from a lot of people is once they do that and they're into the system, they actually like it better. They find it more enjoyable. So, but hey, maybe you won't. If nothing else, you're a little smarter now. And I will tell you this. Whenever I do public speaking now, not only do I include, as I always have, my LinkedIn handle and my Twitter handle, I now include my Mastodon handle. Because if you're a marketer, then you know that the only consistent thing in our career path is change. And we either adapt and succeed or we die. So it's as simple as that. So embrace the unknown, go explore, follow my good friend Seth. Seth, beyond Mastodon, is there an old-fashioned way to reach you? LinkedIn, email?
Well, LinkedIn, you can go search for Goldstein Media. That's Goldstein Media. I won't spell media because everyone can spell media. And that's actually my personal profile. I'm not going to get into the weeds on why I'm not changing that, but that's my personal profile on LinkedIn. Connect to me. I would love it. You can go to goldsteinmedia.com. That's my main site. Entrepreneursenigma.com is the podcast. And if you need to find me elsewhere, you can ask Daryl.
There you go, folks. I will hook you up with the man himself. Seth, thank you for your time today. I am most grateful. Folks, it's been so fun. Let's do this again on another episode of #CMO School. We'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.